with Dallas and Tampa. It is Monday, and that means Sean Salisbury coming up in just a moment. And speaking of NBA basketball, following Sean, we'll have Ryan in Sacktown to talk about the Kings and the NBA. Boy, oh boy, Sean, what a great day to have you on to talk about everything that happened this weekend and talk about tonight's game. How the hell are you, buddy?
Doing awesome, man. What a wild-ass week. Some things we said to look for. January continues to punish teams that felt like they had a better chance. It was a hell of a weekend.
Let's start with Saturday night. Let's talk with or Saturday afternoon. I want to start with San Francisco and Brock Purdy. I would say this. I think the Niners right now, with the 4 teams remaining, I'm picking them to come out of the NFC. I think they're just the best all-around team, and I'm concerned about Philadelphia's injury situation, particularly at quarterback. But maybe their defense is not as great. It's good. Maybe not as great as we thought. I mean, I watched what your Raiders did just 2 weeks ago, at that game in Las Vegas, with a quarterback that was making his first start in Stidham. I'm looking at Seattle. They had the lead at the half and how they played. Again, I like their defense. I think it's very, very good, but maybe great. And we going a little too far by calling it great? What's your thoughts on that?
They've been great all year. They haven't been great. They've been really solid the last 2 games. And the truth is they faced a desperate Raider team that didn't have anything to lose. And then and with a rookie quarterback, you know how that goes sometimes. The question is, could they sustain it? Secondly, Geno Smith led the league in completion percentage, so he's a pretty good player this year and in the Pro Bowl. But, yeah, Grant, I fully expect – now, when you run into the playoffs too, we're supposed to be running into the best of the best at their positions, right?
Good point.
And we just are. So you expect everybody to elevate a little bit, but it's a good thing. Think about this now. If your defense isn't going to pitch a 10 to, give up just 10 points or 13 points – your offense has to pull their weight, and Brock Purdy and his offense is pulling that weight. And what I love about this kid is he struggled with accuracy fairly early in the game, the first 15 to 18 throws. But what tells you with the way he's performing, this guy's playing like a rookie? When people say, oh, the stage is, he's a rookie, what's going to happen? Well, have you seen the stage too big for him yet, Grant?
No, he's looked like he's been in the league. He's looked like he's been in the league 10 years to me.
I'm going to tell you right now, the best quarterback on that roster for this team right now, and you can hear guys the way McCaffrey and Kittle talk, is the guy that's playing. And that's no disrespect to Jimmy. We haven't seen enough of Trey Lance, but I put it this way. I don't think the quarterback's going to be the reason if the 49ers get beat. Now, he may make a few mistakes, but he's playing as well as a whole bunch of others that got beat this past weekend. I can tell you that. So, and they're rolling off, what are they, Grant, 11 straight now? And he's been with 6 of them. They're good.
What about Christian McCaffrey? How great was that trade in the middle of the season to get McCaffrey? Think about what that's done to that offense, Sean.
It will go down. Well, that makes Lynch the executive of the year, at least close. I mean, think about it. Drafting Brock Purdy, getting where he is, and now look at this. And now you talk about what McCaffrey's done. It is unbelievable what this offense just – and Grant, remember we talked when he first came in, I told you I felt it was a huge deal getting McCaffrey to San Francisco, not even just because of his presence when he touches it. It's his presence when he doesn't.
Yeah.
You see what it does to get Debo on the edge and get everybody involved. I love the effort of Ayuk going down and blocking everything about it. And I'm telling you, McCaffrey runs like a guy that weighs 240 in between the tackles. This is a very, very – this is as complete a team as the NFL has right now. And I'm talking Cincinnati. I'm talking Buffalo. I'm talking Kansas City. I'm talking Philadelphia. They are in the team picture with that. And then it comes down to, do you make stupid mistakes? Does your quarterback play well? And can you get a couple stops? That's between now and February how you're going to get there.
And I think they will destroy Tampa if Tampa beats Dallas, and I think they'll beat Dallas. I mean, I don't see San Francisco losing to tonight's winner. I'd be very surprised. I think Dallas is better suited for staying on the field with San Francisco. Tampa, we saw that a couple of weeks ago. The Niners destroyed the Bucs. I think they would destroy them again. So let's talk about that. Do you feel that either of those teams could beat San Francisco?
If San Francisco's playing like they do now, no. I don't. I don't think either one of them. I don't think Dallas is going there. I think Tampa Bay's beating Dallas tonight.
Yeah, you told me that.
Game. I believe that. Although, I mean, regardless of who the better team is, I just think, to me, I treat this January different than I did the regular season, Grant. I just do. Take a look at Jacksonville. If we treated the regular season the same way, we'd say, oh, good team. Oh, they're down 27-0. We'll see you next year, right?
Yeah.
We'll get to that. And bingo, here they are. I treat it different. Doug Peterson, Super Bowl experience, gets it. Tom Brady, listen, until somebody proves to me, I don't give a shit about his record right now. If they protect him, that'll be. I know that's a big if. And they Grant, if they'll run it some, just enough for play action. Brady's one guy that can throw it 48 times and still beat you. Very few guys. If Prescott has to throw it 45 times tonight, guess what, Grant? If they get it, they're not winning.
No, they'll lose. He'll make some mistakes.
Right. But Brady can carry a team. Yes, if they have to go and if they're going to win tonight and they go to San Francisco. But I can tell you this, I do not believe that they are going to beat Brady's team down in the postseason like they did in the regular season. It may be the same result, but it will not be the same ass-kicking, especially if they can protect him some. It looms. This guy's different. Now, can he will arrest the guys to win? We're going to find out who Tampa is, and we'll know early. But the San Francisco 49ers should be playing in the NFC Championship game with their draw.
All right, let's talk about Jacksonville. Let's talk about that game. 27-0 down. Doug Peterson says one drive at a time, particularly to start the third quarter. Do you give more credit to what Jacksonville did, or are you more critical to what the Chargers did in that second half?
I think both deserve. Let's start with the Chargers. Had this been the first time that the Chargers disappointed us with stuff that they did, something they should have won, whether it's a coaching, a game management decision by Staley or what have you, we would have said, man, what an unfortunate thing, but the Chargers got a future. But what Staley did the week before bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
And that led into this, Grant.
Yep.
Now, 27-0, you're a playoff team. This should not happen. But guess what? If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. If this, if that. So with this, really disappointed. And Grant, I told you going into this game, I didn't think that Staley's job was safe if they got curb stomped, like 30, if they got just hammered. But I'm not so sure that this isn't worse than losing 27-0. You got a 20. I mean,
I agree.
It's unfathomable to me.
Worse.
And it's not just him, but he put himself in these situations. I personally, and then on the other side, the resilience of a great play caller, Doug Peterson, and a culture-changing head coach who's damn good, and you put him together with a quarterback who, after 4 picks, a lot of guys would have wilted. This dude just kept slinging it, and they kept playing, and they stayed the course. And you know what? I've learned far more about Jacksonville on Saturday night than I did them winning 3 or 4 in a row and getting here. It tells me they don't give a shit, that they can overcome bad stuff. Now, you do that in Kansas City, you're going to get you ain't coming back. But it showed this is for the long term as well, Grant.
Yeah.
I think they learned something about themselves. Look what Dable, look what Doug Peterson, look what a culture change and believability does, and good coaching to your franchises. And I couldn't have been more impressed. So I'm going to lean more with they overcame it. But when the score ended, I'm like, why am I not shocked? They chargered. And it's sad, but it's true.
How bad did Joey Bosa? How bad was Joey Bosa's act? That's awful.
Well, you can't do it.
Yeah,
you can't do it. And it seemed like they took the wrong path to do a lot of. They took a path to do a lot of wrong things in a game that you should have been able to go 3. Even if you'd have handed it off, gone 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Hell, wear it out and go home. They could not stave them off, and you couldn't have played worse if you're Jacksonville offensively in the first. When you spotted him 27 points.
Was there a quarterback this weekend who had a better game than Daniel Jones?
Better game all around than Daniel Jones. Well, Purdy was good, but no, considering what we say, Grant, if you're going to beat the Giants with the Vikings' piss-poor defense this year, you better make them one-dimensional. And what did Jones do? He was two-dimensional. They mixed it up, Kafka, throw and run. Dable, they handed the ball off when necessary. Their defense got the stops at the right time. Cousins, you cannot throw that ball there, but great tight coverage, so there was no risk of no tackle after the catch. Considering where he was and where he is and who he's dealing with right now, a team that's been somewhat limited skill set wise, but you saw guys elevate. I couldn't be more proud of Daniel Jones, and it's a bummer for Minnesota, but this defense has been doing this all year long, and offensively at the wrong time, Cousins made the wrong decision. You cannot do that. The Giants are a two-dimensional football team when Jones is doing that. We know about Barkley. I was impressed, and I'm going to say this real quick, Grant. Yeah. I said it about this game, and I'm going to say it again. Philadelphia is a better team, but turn it over 2 times. Yep. This is dangerous.
Yep.
It's a divisional opponent. They know each other. We're going to find out, and the Giants have had to battle and fight their way through. We're going to see where that intensity is next week.
Sean, help me out here. Your quarterback, your entire season is on the line. It's 4th and 8, and you throw the freaking ball underneath 3 yards when a man is on your tight end. I mean, I'm sorry. To me, that's quarterbacking 101, Sean. How does a veteran quarterback, help me out here, how does a veteran quarterback make that throw? You're better off just throwing the ball straight up in the air down the field and have a jump ball. At least you got a chance. On that play, you have no chance. What the hell are you thinking as a quarterback, Sean?
He's a hell of a regular season quarterback, Grant. I can leave it at that. He is. But there's something mental block. Listen, you look at the numbers and everybody's, well, this isn't just – you're right. Their defense has sucked ass for a while when it comes to getting off the field. And Ed Donatell, they have got to be better. It's the most maligned 13-win team I've seen going into playoffs. I don't know how long. The least trusted 13-win team going into playoffs. I can't remember the last time. 13 wins, you say, okay, this is a really good team. 13 wins, everybody still questioned, would this what we see? And here's what I would have done if I was Kevin O'Connell. I wouldn't have given Kirk Cousins that read. I would have pushed everybody past the sticks, and unless, of course, everybody gets depth and they're 10 yards past the first down, and then the tight end sitting there and you get him the ball, let him run in space and dive for a first down. But they hugged up, they mugged him, they played tight. It was hit and tackle, it was bang, bang, right then and there. I would have made the play call. I know I love O'Connell, but I would have made the play call knowing Kirk Cousins' history in January. And in primetime elimination moments, I would have taken the decision-making out of his damn head with that, and I would have made sure my crossers would have been past the sticks at 8. We run a lot of mesh plays, Grant, just so people understand in the league. It's like a 4 to 6. The underneath guy, the Brady and Bree special. They rub shoulders. The underneath guys at 4, the upper guys at 6. If I was calling a mesh play in case I got man on the runaway, I would have said, guys, we've got to extend it, go 8 to 10. Underneath guy, you go 8. Up top guy, you run 10. If I was running mesh, I'm talking. Then we'll run a deeper dig behind it and push a comeback. I would have done runaways to beat man and others where you can sit and slide and zone. I would have had a beater on both and been able to change on the fly. You cannot, when you're Cousins, you come to the line of scrimmage. There's got to be a flashing neon sign that says, dude, unless there's 5 to 6 yards of space, you do not throw this ball short of the first down. And I'll be damned if he went back there without even reading it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, put his foot in the ground and threw it right now. Yeah. And it's baffling to me. Whether it's a mental block or what have you, but that tells you why he's not getting to January. I've seen it too many times. It's not just his fault. They put themselves in that position defensively. He's had a good season, but we judge quarterbacks at this time of year. You can't make that decision. Great throw for a 3-yard gain.
Yep.
You make that decision in the second damn quarter, not in the fourth when the game's on the line. I think they got the point, hey, man, we win close games. Not this time, son. Brian Dable had different plans for you. You can't throw the damn ball there.
I love Wink Martindale's strategy on defensively. He said, we're not letting Jefferson beat us. We're just not letting him beat us. If we don't win, it won't be because Jefferson beat us. I love that game plan. He's their superstar. He's their MVP. I love that game plan.
Amen. Then you'll go to a coordinator sometime. You say, well, this guy can't beat us, and that guy beats you. Go to some coach. I'm like, what are you doing? I understand a quarterback who's got the ball in his hand 70 times a game, that sometimes when Mahomes gets going, doesn't matter. He can beat you regardless. But the other guys, Martindale's approach is exactly right. I'll be damned if this boat sinks that dude there is going to be the reason we don't have an oar to paddle. And Martindale said, oh, hell no. We'll double, we'll in and out. Every time he broke out, somebody there. Every time he breaks in, if he goes vertical, we'll make sure we have some help over the top. Every friggin' thing that they did, 40-plus yards?
Yep.
And this is the most
46,
dynamic
48.
receiver
Yep.
right now in the league,
Yep.
and they did a phenomenal job.
Yep.
And I love Martindale's approach. If that other number 2 receiver beats us, shit. If Thielen beats us or Hawkinson, fine. And you know what? Getting back to real quick about Grant to Cousins and then throwing the ball to the tight end. And here's what I think also is I believe that he's been so good getting the ball to the tight end. It became such a crutch and a comfort level. I almost felt like he threw back right and thought, you know what, this guy's let me get it to this guy right now and see what can happen. You can't. You got to push it, make the option, push up or run away versus man or sit for zone past the yard markers. I don't think they give each other the best chance in this. Wink Martindale's game plan was golden defensively for that play and not allowing the best player on the field to beat you.
And the Vikings on that last drive that stalled on that pass to Hawkinson were the beneficiaries of, I think, the worst call that I saw this weekend, the roughing the passer call on Dexter Lawrence. I still cannot believe that the referee made that call. That's just mind-boggling to me.
My head almost exploded.
Right.
I'm like, you've got there. And you heard what was it? Mike Pereira. I think it was Mike in the booth, right, with the guys.
Mike said it was a bad
Mike
call.
was sitting there like, I need to know what I saw that said anything about that throw or that sack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he laid off him. He barely touched him. The guy had the ball. He didn't hit him with his helmet. I mean, I know it actually on the passing by, it kind of grazed his face incidentally. There was nothing about the play.
Nothing.
You talk about pussification and over of football and all that. I understand protecting players, but good gracious, in a playoffs, you got to let him. That wasn't even a fringe call. That was a stay your ass at. Matter of fact, that's what I mean, Grant. If you're upstairs, you got to pick that flag up. You got to buzz down and say, oh, no, guys, sorry, you missed that one. Can't have that because that could have simply changed the course of a friggin' game. No friggin' way that should have been called.
Yeah, Dexter Lawrence is not underrated. Dexter Lawrence is first-team All-Pro this year, so he's not underrated. I disagree with that. All right, let's talk about Buffalo, and let's talk about their quarterback. Again, we've talked about this. I understand his attributes. I understand how great he can be at times. Sean, for your liking, though, is he making too many mistakes?
If he gets careless against Joe Burrow, he will not win in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Just so he gets careless against me, he can win. He gets careless against Burrow, they will pay. Now, with Tre'Davious White back and, Poyer's on the field and Micah Hyde working they're starting to get healthy defensively, right? And they got Leslie Frazier does a good job. But how about Miami hanging in there with a third-string quarterback? Good for them.
Yep.
But Josh Allen cannot – listen, he's so gifted, and there's a plus and a minus. The plus is, damn, dude, you got so much skill set. You believe in it. The minus is you don't have to be a hero on every friggin' play. On a sack, trying to make everything happen. Sometimes you just got to secure the ball and take your 6'4", 230-pound ass to the ground. Or throwing balls that you shouldn't throw down the field to make a chance. If it's a punt before half, I get it. But you're putting your team in a bind, and he was the best player on the field, meaning he's supposed to be every week. But you cannot do those things against the next cat or two you're going to meet, which will be Burrow and more than likely Mahomes.
Yep.
And so you can't do it. And I think it's dangerous because while I picked Buffalo when the season began to win the whole thing, I am sure as hell not comfortable with Cincinnati rolling into town, although they didn't play their damn best game either past weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to talk more about that Buffalo-Miami game. I heard Mike McDaniel, I think it was earlier today maybe, talking about they thought that was first down and not fourth down. To me, that's inexplicable. That sequence there, when you had to take one timeout to prevent a delay a game, then you don't have any timeouts when you do get a delay a game, was one of the worst coaching jobs that I've seen, whether you thought it was first down or fourth down or whatever the case may be. That cannot happen. That, to me, was the biggest blunder that I saw this weekend. Here's
what you always have to do, Grant. You always have to err on the side of the conflict. Fourth, you prepare for the worst. You hear it all the time. As a football player, you're always prepared for the worst conflict. How do I find answers to it? Not for the easy answer. Listen, if that would have been Dan Quinn when he was in Atlanta, if that would have been Mike McCarthy this past weekend, if that was Brandon Staley, we'd have him fired.
They'd all be gone.
And, right, McDaniel knows better than this. And I don't care about all that stuff. there's certain things you can control. You have to know.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know this. You have to know those situations, and to put yourself in that position, you just can't do it. You had a chance to pull off something special with a third string quarterback grinding on a team that you ran out there. They've got talent, but in truth, none of us thought it would be within double digits. And they hung around with a chance to win the damn thing as we rolled down late. And you know what? Coaches got to control what they can control. We tell players to do it all the time. Certain things are inexcusable, and they happen in clock management on a regular basis. And for guys that you'd say there's no way they'll do that. Clock management costs championships and costs playoff losses. Causes playoff losses. Both the Ravens, and I see it here, the Ravens awful.
That was inexcusable in the last minute. That clock management was just, how does John, I don't understand how a John Harbaugh coach team can have that type of, I don't understand that, Sean.
Who's been in the league that long. John knows. Those are the things I'm talking about. We say that, and I'm not saying choke factor existed. Sometimes moments, I didn't say games, get so you're caught up in a lot of other stuff. It's like, oh, hell. And then the simplest thing that you got to know, and these guys, you cannot allow those things to happen, because basically your number one job is to put your team in the best position to succeed. And then if they don't succeed, that's okay. But controllable things can happen. And we saw a lot of mishaps with that this weekend, and it continues to happen throughout the year.
That game, Cincinnati's very fortunate to be moving on. They were outplayed. I mean, the big turning point, obviously, on the quarterback sneak, picked up 98 yards the other way. Baltimore really, I think, should have won that game. So I don't know what to think going into this weekend, but let's talk about Cincinnati and what we saw, their vulnerabilities. They didn't, as you said, they did not play well, Sean. Plain and simple, they did not play well.
Excuse me. They escaped with that one. They did. They were fortunate. And when's the last time we saw the quarterback sneak? Now was, what were they on, about the 2? That's a bit of a ways to go, but a dangerous play too, going up and over, right?
No question.
You got Dobbins in the backfield going up and over, and to have of all the luck, the ball bounces and lands right in the guy's gut, and he takes it down. Now, let me just pull ahead. I know that nobody cares about moral victories. If you're showing this tape, if you're a young high school coach or college coach or NFL coach and you want to show how to do it, go watch Mark Andrews' effort instead of just feeling sorry for himself to try and chase down that play. That's how you friggin' go about your business every damn time. So there'll be no Mark Andrews. He can drop a ball the first game next season, and I'm cutting him all the slack. That was unbelievable. That being said, I think it may be a wake-up call, Grant. I do, because I don't want the Bengals to get too comfortable. And going to Buffalo, you play like that, you will get beat in Buffalo. I can assure you of that. In that that's going to be one of the best atmospheres on the planet next weekend in Buffalo for that game. But they were fortunate. If Lamar Jackson plays, we probably aren't having this. No disrespect to Huntley. We're probably not having the conversation about Joe Burrow and getting after it against Josh Allen next week, in truth.
Well, I thought that Baltimore would stay on the field because I always look at coaching in the playoffs. And I thought that the coaching of John Harbaugh, you always look at Baltimore. It just seems like whoever's not on the field, it really doesn't matter. They truly do have next man up mentality, next man up. I mean, we've seen it in the past. But of all the games that I saw this weekend, if you told me, what would be the one coaching staff that we would not be criticizing the next day, I would say probably Baltimore. But here we are, we're criticizing them. Maybe they don't win the game anyway, but I still do not understand, Sean. You've been under center, you've been in the huddle, you get the situation a lot better than I do. I just don't understand how you can allow that to happen. I really don't.
Yeah, well, you can't. And you're exactly right, Grant. We go through the one thing that's consistent. Whenever I think about the Baltimore Ravens, I think, well, they're going to draft well.
Yep.
The coaches will be prepared that if they get beat, they usually don't beat themselves. And the coaching staff, we won't be having this conversation about them. We may be having this conversation about the Chargers going in because Staley's still learning, or, somebody else who's new at this. But you know what? There were some decisions made by coaches that that should have known better. And unfortunately, when you're playing in January, those are single elimination. Now you got to deal with it for 6 months until you play again. That's the hard part.
Sean, how big of a deal is the bye week for the number 1 seeds when you get to this point in the season?
I think it's really important and good if you're banged up and somebody's got to, and three of your best players need rest. I hate Grant. I know I'm probably in the minority now, but I hate too much time off. I just do. I'm not a big believer in, like I said, Hurts. I'd have been even more concerned if Hurts would not have played this past week, just
Right.
for rhythm, because you don't get,
Yep.
oh, this is a tune-up game. You don't get tune-up games in postseason. If you
Mm-hmm.
thought it was a tune-up game, ask the Vikings, ask the
Yep.
Buffalo Bills how they were challenged in Cincinnati. The tune-up games, it's different. Jacksonville wasn't playing the tune-up shit in this. They were like, we're down, we're coming back. So these aren't tune-up games. So they're supremely gifted. But I'm a guy that if you're healthy, I like playing rhythm. If there's something to play for, I get why they didn't play, like in Los Angeles Chargers. They had nothing to gain. You shouldn't have been playing Mike Williams. Simple. In the conversation. No questions asked. But I like it. But, Grant, you have to stay – your coaching staff and players have to stay so football-oriented to get in, to make sure you don't lose. Now, I know it's the playoffs, but it's easy to get a little sidetracked. So if your focus stays on the prize, which I think Philadelphia's will, because they've got two really good coordinators, they've got a head coach who gets it, and they've got players on both sides of the ball. So I don't expect the bye to bother them for 4 quarters. Maybe they're a little bit sluggish coming out of it, but I think rest is great. That's what you play for. If not, we would make a big deal of it if you're the bye team. Sometimes it's needed, and it's good to get away from football, but there's a fine line between getting away from football and losing focus. I don't think Philadelphia will lose focus, but I do think they realize what they're in for next week with the Giants in their same division.
And they got a lot of injuries. I mean, Lane Johnson is going to try to play, but he's got a very serious injury. We don't know about the quarterback yet. They've got some other issues. So what about this question, Sean? How much is it going to hurt Dallas or Tampa because the Niners played on Saturday and they're getting 2 extra days of rest? Do you think that means anything at this juncture?
You're damn right I do. Now, sometimes it can play that we won. We don't have a lot of time to think about it. Let's get back in and go play. But coaches, most of the coaches or players I'll talk to are begging for this, a day and a half now to get away from football, to get extra rest if you're banged up. A couple times you saw Greenlaw come out of the game, Grant. He may need a couple extra days, right? So, I think it's a huge advantage. There's no doubt now that they can't be thinking about that if you're Tampa or Dallas. But to me, think about the running back or linebacker position. That's 1 extra day of those bruises and sore as hell. By the Sunday rolls around, you're ready to go again. Now they get 2 extra days. Come on now.
Well,
of course it's a benefit.
And if it's Dallas, I mean, you've been in these. I've traveled with NFL teams too. It's not like the game's over and you're on the airplane. It takes several hours before you're on the airplane flying home. So, I mean, the Cowboys won't get home until the middle of the morning on Tuesday, and then they've got to leave to go to San Francisco on Saturday. That is a really, really short week.
Back at treatment, you probably can't be and sometimes it can work for you because sometimes in the playoffs, Grant, we get too cute. Instead of for the Cowboys, it'll be, all right, we got to do what we do well. You're going to get off. You're not going to get that full day off. We got to start implementing game plan. We're going to travel again. And maybe you get to the point where you don't get too cute offensively or defensively, try to do too much, say, let's just operate our base shit, and maybe we'll be in this, because sometimes you outthink yourself and too cute yourself into a trip home. That's a problem.
Sean, the officiating in the NFL this year has been under scrutiny, and it should. I think they've had a really bad year, but I do like the way they're doing replay now. I think it's helping. I think it's expediting things, and so at least I see some improvement in that area.
Yeah, over the weekend we saw, there was quick turnaround, and there was times when, like it was yesterday, when there was I think it was in the Viking game, maybe the Viking Giant game, where the referee, when the ball hit the ground, they called the referees hovered around, said, no, the ball hit the ground. After this, it's done, and they got to it. Hard job, a lot of credit. The best are supposed to be out there in the playoffs. They'll miss some calls. You can't miss the ones, and every year we're complaining about it. You can't miss the ones that are game-changing, but you also got to get them right. And I thought for the most part over the weekend, except for a few missed calls, that our referees are doing a pretty good job. I wouldn't want the damn job.
Well, I'll tell you, if the Vikings had scored on that last drive, that's all we'd be talking about today.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Call.
That's
what we would
right.
be talking about.
And we didn't even hear much about it today because they ended up losing. But in truth, that shit should have never been called.
No, never. All right, so we don't know who's going to win the game tonight. But of all the teams that are underdogs right now, going into next week's game, which I think would be all the road teams, who do you think's got the best chance of pulling off an upset next weekend?
Cincinnati. Cincinnati going to Buffalo. While the Giants are going to be underdogs, but they'll compete. Now, listen, you go ahead and blink, and Tom Brady will throw for 400 on your ass, and the Giants will find a way to win. But just judging from, and while Jacksonville, the question is, did Jacksonville leave everything they had on the field in this one? And now you got to go to Kansas City to that atmosphere. To me, it's the Cincinnati Bengals, because I won't be shocked if the Bengals go in there and just play their best football and outright beat them. So while I picked Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl and win it, I won't be shocked if Cincinnati wins. That game shouldn't be more than 3 points either way.
And then with Philadelphia, I always look at how is a team doing at the end of the year, but why is it that they're playing that way at the end of the year? Philadelphia kind of came limping to the finish line because they didn't have their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. But they also have some injuries on their offensive line, which you can't discount that. We don't know how that factors in. Even with that said, Philadelphia, the NFL is still a game about matchups. I like the way their team matches up against the Giants. I think their strengths are going to be a lot for the Giants to handle. But with that said, I just don't know which Eagles team is going to show up based on their health. I don't know.
If a healthy team shows up and they play 90% of their game, they're winning next week.
Absolutely.
No disrespect to the
That's
Giants.
my point.
There's a better roster. You're right, Grant. There is absolutely no question. You know what? There's going to be a common theme in this. Now, look at Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts. Obviously, Josh Allen. We got some guys that can buy a lot of extra time in these playoffs. Dak's even got some of that in him, doesn't use it as much as I would like him to. There's one guy that ain't moving for squat. We know who that is, but he can kill you other ways, and that's Brady. So the defenses are going to be challenged because of the ability to extend plays next week. But the truth of the matter is, keep an eye on the line of scrimmage, Grant. It always works this way. Special quarterbacks are fine. If you don't control both lines of scrimmage, somebody better have an out-of-body experience elsewhere, but you've got to control them. And if you don't, there's a good chance the other team will be moving on.
All right, so you're picking Tampa to win tonight. Close game? Are you picking them in a close game?
Yeah, close. You bet, close game. And I trust, and I like that. I just trust number 12 more than I do number 4 in January. It's a pretty simple process for me. When all things feel semi-equal, I know the Cowboys are the favorite going on the road, but I saw the way they played and the whole season up and down for Tampa. But until number 12 proves to me he sucks in January, I'm taking him.
I love it. All right, buddy. You have a great day. All right. Thanks very much.
You too, buddy. Appreciate it. Great stuff, man. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right. You too. That's I love Sean. All right. We are always thankful for New Works Plumbing of Sacramento, locally owned for over 20 years. New Works has a fix for you. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com for your plumbing needs and repairs. Kings off until they take on the Lakers on the road. Ryan in Sacktown. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. How about you, Grant?
I am doing good. Another Kings win. Third quarter last night, the difference in the game, outscoring the Spurs by 13. All the other quarters were very close, but the Kings got the job done against a bad team. And I like the fact that now we're not talking about, the Kings are playing to the level of their competition. They beat Houston twice, even though, at one point they were trailing going into the fourth quarter in the first game. But after what we saw at the beginning of that homestand with a loss to Atlanta and a loss to the Lakers, they come back. They've now won 4 in a row, and they're a season-high 6 games over 500.
Yeah, Grant, first time since the 2005-2006 season, they've been 6 games over 500. They seem to be on a roll, quietly 4-0, like you said. Sabonis was named Western Conference Player of the Week, averaging a triple-double over the last 4 games. And Harrison Barnes has been excellent. Don't discount his play and what that's meant the last 4 games. He's averaging 25 points during this stretch.
Hey, we're going to be coming on halftime during the Kings-Lakers game, and then we'll be on right after the game, both on YouTube. So we're looking forward to that. Again, this week, halftime, we'll come on, we'll break down the game, and then we'll come on right after the game as well. So keep that in mind. We're also going to be opening up the Super Chat, and whoever makes the largest donation between now and the end of the Memphis game, we will have you come on the show with Ryan and I after the game. So we're looking forward to that. We'll also grade the players from yesterday in the 5 games. Again, the Lakers, and then you have OKC, you got Philly and Memphis coming in. So after this 5-game stretch, we'll grade each player. When I mean each player, we'll grade the main players, we'll grade the coach, and we'll grade the team. So we'll be doing that every 5 games. We're looking forward to that. But right now, the Kings solidly in the 4th place in the Western Conference, which is pretty remarkable.
It is. We've talked about it for a while. I don't think anybody anticipated us being in this, or the Kings being in this position this far into the season. But now it's about finishing. Let's finish in the All-Star break and then see if we can make the playoffs.
And again, the Kings are still one of the only teams in the league that have had really good health. And I'm not counting Sabonis in that because he only missed one game. So that doesn't count. I mean, I'm talking about players that have not been on the floor. And for instance, on this message, about the Kings, even in the loss column with the Pels, well, life's not the same without Zion Williamson. Same with the Suns with without Devin Booker. And look what happened to them. Again, if the Kings lose Fox or they lose Sabonis for any period of time, they're not going to win a lot of games. So, you always have to bite your nails when you're watching the Kings play that they don't have one of those two guys get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant. I mean, they mean everything to the team. And, the guard position probably a little easier to replace, but definitely either of those guys missing any significant time is going to affect this team in a way that we haven't seen all season. I mean, Sabonis's injury, you wouldn't even tell that he had the broken thumb at this point. And we're, 3 weeks past that? So hopefully he stays on that same track.
I mean, you just said it, player of the week, right? I mean, pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Very remarkable. Very, very much.
All right, so the Lakers lost another just brutal game last night to Philadelphia. The Kings and the Lakers coming up next, and then the Kings are home for a couple of games. So we'll be with you, and let's talk a little bit about this message on the chat line as it relates to Kevin Huerter. He missed 2 games. He was sick, and so we'll see. You know what? I'm not concerned about Kevin Huerter. I mean, I'm just not. I'm not concerned about the guy.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about Kevin. People are talking about conditioning. Maybe he didn't have his legs after missing 2 games. No, they've played 41 games this season. So I don't think that's a conditioning thing. He's a shooter. Shooters are going to go through stretches. But if you notice, he's finding ways to help the team without scoring the basketball, and he's trying to get to the rim. And I think that's what he needs to do because it means so much to see the ball go through the hoop, and that can just start a shooter like that.
Here's what's wrong with the All-Star game right here. I don't have no idea what the hell a 3-for-1 day. I don't know. That's right. You want to know what's wrong with the All-Star voting? That's what's wrong. Take the All-Star voting away from the fans. Get rid of this 3-for-1 crap. Get rid of this popularity contest. Get rid of that, okay? Fans should not be voting for the All-Star game, 3-for-1. That's right there in a nutshell. That is what is wrong with the All-Star voting. Now, Benjamin, you are right. That's the system that the league is using. So if you're a Kings fan, utilize it. You're absolutely right. But to me, that turns me off, man. That's just terrible. Absolutely pathetic. It really is. It's a joke.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, this is all about marketing. And this is completely about getting your email address and the NBA. It's not about the players.
Again, here's what I would say. Small markets, yes. But generally speaking, once the reserves are added to the team, almost every year, the players that deserve to be on the All-Star team are on the All-Star team. You're always going to have 1 or 2 players because you only have a limited number of spots on the roster that feel like they should have been on. But really, realistically, the players that deserve to be on the All-Star team are on the All-Star team. They just don't start. So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and Grant, on the flip side of that, usually the starters are the starters. We don't see Harrison Barnes named as a starter. So it's the bench players that the coaches vote for, and that's what's most important. But it does equal out, and injuries play a part in that as well.
Well, I don't agree with you. I think the fans do care about the voting. I don't agree with you. I think they do care. All right, we'll be on. Don't forget, on Wednesday with Jerry Reynolds, we got halftime of the Kings-Lakers game. We've got the post-game show. I'm getting ready for my Listen App show, which should be a lot of fun today. We've got a lot to talk about. So, Ryan, good stuff, buddy, and we will chat with you a little bit later, my friend.
Sounds good, Grant. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Good stuff right there. Good show with Sean. Really appreciate everything that you do. Thank you for your support. And if you are on the stream, hit the like button. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We'd appreciate it. Thank you so much for being right with us here on If You Don't Like That. So long, everybody.